Cops tell TMZ Sports that Rudi Johnson tragically died by suicide in Florida just after midnight on Tuesday, leaving behind a void that is almost impossible to fill for his loved ones and the countless fans who watched him grow into one of the most reliable running backs of his generation. He was just 45 years old. The news of his passing hit the sports world like a thunderclap, and within hours tributes began pouring in from former teammates, coaches, fans, and sports analysts who had followed his remarkable journey from a small-town kid with big dreams to an NFL star who carried the hopes of an entire city on his shoulders. A family source close to the situation told TMZ Sports that Rudi had been fighting through a very difficult time leading up to his death. Though a formal cause of death has not yet been publicly disclosed, those who knew him best believe that he was battling more than just the usual challenges of life after football. It is believed that he had been dealing with mental health struggles, which can be crippling even under the best of circumstances, and he was also grappling with what many suspected were the effects of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, better known as CTE, a degenerative brain disease caused by repeated head trauma. For years, the topic of CTE has cast a dark shadow over professional football, with more and more former players speaking out about the silent toll the game has taken on them. Sadly, for Rudi Johnson, that battle may have proved too heavy to carry. The tragedy feels even more heartbreaking because Rudi was someone who had dedicated so much of his life to helping others. His family said that in the days, weeks, and even months leading up to his death, he had been focused on doing good, working with kids, mentoring young athletes, and making sure that the next generation had resources and guidance that perhaps he never had. That was who Rudi was. On the field, he was a punishing runner who fought for every yard. Off the field, he was a man with a soft heart who wanted to make a difference in the lives of others. Rudi Johnson's path to the NFL wasn't a straight line. Before he ever put on a Bengals uniform, he had to work harder than most to get noticed. Born in Petersburg, Virginia, Johnson grew up loving the game of football, but like many kids from small towns, the road to stardom wasn't guaranteed. He first attended Butler County Community College in Kansas, where he completely dominated, racking up over 3,500 rushing yards and scoring 43 touchdowns in just 2 seasons. His performances there were nothing short of electrifying, and it wasn't long before scouts took notice. Johnson then transferred to Auburn University, where he played just 1 season, but what a season it was. At Auburn, he was unstoppable, rushing for 1,567 yards and 13 touchdowns. He was named the SEC Player of the Year, and his ability to break tackles and wear down defenses made him one of the most feared runners in college football. Auburn fans loved him not just because he produced big numbers, but because of his work ethic and blue-collar approach to the game. He didn't dance around defenders, he ran through them, and he did it with a smile on his face. That season cemented his reputation as a player who could carry an offense on his back. The Cincinnati Bengals selected Johnson in the 4th round of the 2001 NFL Draft. At the time, the Bengals were a struggling franchise, desperate for a player who could help turn things around. Johnson's first 2 seasons were relatively quiet. He spent most of his time as a backup, waiting for his chance to shine. But when that opportunity came in 2003, he made sure nobody would ever forget his name again. That year, Johnson rushed for 957 yards and scored 9 touchdowns, proving that he was not just a serviceable back but a star in the making. Over the next 3 seasons, he became one of the most consistent and productive running backs in the league. From 2004 to 2006, he racked up more than 4,200 rushing yards and scored 36 touchdowns. He set a Bengals franchise record for most rushing yards in a season with 1,458 in 2005, a record that stood for years. Johnson's running style was punishing, wearing down defenses and opening up the passing game for quarterback Carson Palmer. Bengals fans knew that when they needed a tough 3rd down conversion or a clock-killing drive late in the 4th quarter, they could count on Rudi. Teammates and coaches admired him for more than just his production. They spoke about his toughness, his leadership, and his ability to rally the locker room. He was the kind of player who made everyone around him better. He wasn't the loudest guy on the team, but when he spoke, people listened. His work ethic was infectious. After his time in Cincinnati, Johnson played 1 final season with the Detroit Lions in 2008 before stepping away from the game. Like many NFL players, retirement was a difficult transition. The structure, the camaraderie, and the adrenaline rush of game day are suddenly gone, leaving a void that can be hard to fill. Johnson tried to pour himself into meaningful work, launching the Rudi Johnson Foundation, which focused on helping children and families through community programs. He became a mentor, a philanthropist, and an advocate for giving back. But as the years went on, those closest to him began to notice changes. He sometimes struggled with mood swings, memory lapses, and bouts of depression, symptoms commonly associated with CTE. The condition, which can only be diagnosed after death, has been linked to repeated concussions and head impacts that many players endure over the course of their careers. Some of the biggest names in football, including Junior Seau, Vincent Jackson, and Demaryius Thomas, have suffered similar fates, their lives cut short by the devastating effects of brain trauma. The NFL has made strides in recent years to address player safety, implementing stricter concussion protocols and changing rules to reduce helmet-to-helmet contact. But for many former players, those changes came too late. The hits they took during their playing days have left permanent scars, both physically and mentally. Rudi Johnson was likely among those still dealing with the long-term effects of a game he loved so much. Bengals president Mike Brown released a heartfelt statement following Johnson's death, calling him a fine person and an excellent running back, dependable, productive, and beloved by his teammates. Fans on social media flooded timelines with clips of his greatest plays, sharing memories of the games where he carried the Bengals to victory almost single-handedly. Some remembered being in the stands when he broke the team's single-season rushing record, while others simply remembered how he made them fall in love with football. In the wake of his passing, there have been renewed calls for the NFL and other sports leagues to do more to support former players struggling with mental health challenges. The conversation about CTE has grown louder, but many argue that access to mental health care, financial guidance, and post-retirement support is still not enough. Rudi's death is a painful reminder that even those who seem the strongest can be fighting battles we cannot see. His family, meanwhile, is left to mourn a man who was so much more than just an athlete. To them, he was a brother, a son, a father, and a friend. He was someone who lit up every room he walked into, who never forgot where he came from, and who always found a way to make time for the people he cared about. They will remember him not just for what he did on Sundays, but for who he was every other day of the week, compassionate, loyal, and endlessly giving. In Cincinnati, fans will likely gather to honor him, to share stories, to cry together, and to celebrate the legacy of a man who gave them so many reasons to cheer. The Bengals organization is expected to hold a tribute during the season, and it would not be surprising if players take the field with RJE decals on their helmets to honor the man who once carried their team to relevance. The pain of losing Rudi Johnson will not fade quickly. It will be felt by those who watched him grow from a junior college star to an NFL record setter, by those who played alongside him in the trenches, and by those who were lucky enough to call him a friend. His story will now join the growing list of cautionary tales about the price athletes pay for glory, about the sacrifices they make, and about the need to protect their mental and physical health long after the cheers of the crowd have faded.